Yo, what up? This week we're going to be talking about, just a random variety of stuff. This week's affixes are going to be tyrannical afflicted bolstering. If you want, this is like a great gearing week for alts, not necessarily the best week for pushing. Even if it is, I think something that Blizzard's done pretty well the past couple of expansions is proven that if you have to play some pretty bad affix sets, like they can be okay. They can be within, half a key level to 0.75 delta of a key level differential if you're really trying to play. Obviously, the issue with week 10 with tyrannical afflicted bolstering is that it's just not very fun, and it requires what feels like a lot more effort to get similar results that you would on a different tyrannical week. And say you play this entangling bursting week that's coming up in 2 weeks, you're going to get a lot easier results, and honestly it's going to be a lot more fun to play. So we're in a situation where this week definitely a great break week if you want to take a break, not really play as much. If you want to gear alts, that's also pretty popular. 10.25 is also this week. Not too much in the case of what's going to be happening with Mythic Clusters on 10.25. There's not realistically anything that's changing come the patch. I think the Catalyst, you get a Catalyst charge every single week now, as opposed to every other week. So that could be good for gearing alts. Crest catch up is a bit tough for completely starting alts right now. Maybe we'll get something in regards to Crest catch up soon, but maybe not. We'll see. But those are basically how the affixes have been working. This week's affixes were very good for pushing keys. It was Fortified Storming Bursting, not too much in regards to intrusion on your timer. Now, bursting could be problematic in dungeons. I think like Everbloom is probably the top dungeon that bursting is problematic in. But in general as well, bursting is an affix that gets easier the higher level key you go, as opposed to whenever you're pugging. So first off, whenever you're pugging, typically you're going to be doing like lower level keys, especially like the 15 range or something like that. Trash die is really easy. That allows you to roll bursting stacks very easily. And then I think that there's something that also happens, like as you push higher level keys, your healers just, of course, get very, very good at the game and make that affix fairly trivial. They're going to be using all of their utility. On top of that, your DPS are going to know that they need to be personaling, and like your players know that they're going to need to be personaling a large amount of bursting stacks. Like say you get like 7 or 8 stacks, that's a great time to just press defensive, and players start to know that. Yeah, not too much in regards to, nothing crazy in regards to like dungeon ease tier list. If we're looking at like a website that's taking popularity or completion rate like Subcreation or U.GG, it makes sense that Black Cold and AD are at the top. Things like Rise and Throne of the Tides are going to tend to be at the bottom. Rise because the timer, very challenging. Throne of the Tides typically because the trash is very hard. It's just very hard in that dungeon. For tank tier list on Subcreation, again, it's kind of this, there's this rubber band effect where every single time we come off a Fortified week, we're like, damn, Venge is insane. Feels great to play with. Owns, has a lot of mob control. And then every single time we come off of Tyrannical week, we go, damn, Prop Pally did a great job keeping us alive there. Brought Diva Aura, brought Sack, brought a lot of off healing, that kind of stuff. As for, healers, seems like Restorer and Mistweaver Disc, all very good. DPS, I think we're seeing Outlaw Rogue start to see a lot more play. I think that well-played Outlaw versus, average high-end Outlaw has some of the highest damage differential, where if you were playing Outlaw at like a top level, spec is insane. We're also seeing, the rise of the Balance Druid be pretty popular. Fire Mage, Aug Evoker, Havoc Demon Hunter, those are probably the most popular DPS. We do see some groups playing with like Shadow Priest. Shadow Priest is still, I think, definitely a tier lower than Balance Druid. I think that, if I had to tier these, it'd probably be like Demon Lock up, Shadow Priest, Destro down a little bit. Destro is good in specific dungeons and specific situations, though. Definitely not to be outdone. Sub also quite strong, but obviously not going to be popular. And I think that this is more about popularity as opposed to what's actually timing the highest level keys. Let's take a look at some of the other stuff that we've seen over the past week. Meg had a good tweet today talking about every time push week rolls around, I wish that push week didn't exist. Understandable. I've had this opinion for a while. Playing degenerately for a week and then waiting around for another minimally painful set of affixes gets very old, and I'd imagine both casual and competitive players would appreciate a system refresh. I agree. I think that one of the big things that I want for the next expansion for War Within is a complete affix overhaul. I'll probably make a video talking about like my expansion wish list in regards to things that I want to see come in War Within. But I think one of the big ones is just like a complete affix overhaul, and I'm not talking about like just a couple of things. And I'm not necessarily talking about, make positive affixes. I'm talking about like I want to see one row of the affixes just completely cut. Tyrannical and Fortified probably need to rethink in regards to what they're doing to the keys, because I think that at their core they're like good design, that you want bosses to be more impactful some weeks and Fortified be impactful other weeks. But I think at their design they're not great. And I think that we just have too many affix rows, and I think that I would, cut the on-death affixes, cut the, I would describe them as like utility-based affixes. I don't really know how to describe this row. And then kind of try to make something that's a better affix set. They did do a pretty decent job of trying to make and balancing the affixes relative to one another across the entire expansion, but it still is not perfect, and it still creates this situation that Meg is talking about. I tend to agree with that. Now, this, again, is coming from a high-end player experience who I try to play every single week if I could, and I would play a lot if I could, because I just enjoy the game. Love Mythic Plus, and it kind of does feel bad whenever you're like, this week is like a takeoff week because we should, not because we can. And that's a weird, I don't know, a weird situation. All right, in other news, top players from Taiwan have gotten banned from the Taiwanese region. So if you notice the top end of Raider.io, hold on, I'll pull it up 1 second. Front page of Raider.io is consisting of a lot of people from the Taiwanese region. Now, a lot of them got banned recently. Spec leaderboard, or not spec leaderboards, class leaderboards, saw roles. A lot of Taiwanese players. A lot of them got banned about 4 or 5 days ago for RMT. And now this is secondhand information that I got, so I'm not 100% sure that that's true, but it seems pretty accurate at this point. And basically what was said to me, and this is a person who plays on the Taiwanese region, they raid in Skyline, so this is like, I think what I would say is pretty reliable, although I'm not 100% sure that this is confirmed. He said that basically all of these people who are top-end Mythic Plusers got banned for RMT, ranging from a week to 6 months, effectively 1 week to half a year for RMT. They basically got their characters boosted through raid. Some of them got banned for a very short period of time, and some of them got a long period of time. Now, I was talking to a different friend, and culturally, people who do high-end Mythic Plus in the Taiwanese region don't raid. That's typically their situation, is that they just don't raid like at all, and you can see that they basically all have not done keys since the 10th, which, the 11th even. So it's looking like they're all gone. And culturally, they don't raid. They just really focus on only doing Mythic Plus. And then you're like, oh, so how are they supposed to get this raid gear, right? And you'll see that they're 9 out of 9 Mythic Immersion still. And a lot of that comes, I think, from buying raid boosts. And I think that's kind of what he was saying. On top of that, there might be something in regards to them piloting other people's characters as well through Mythic Plus sales to kind of, recoup some money. I'm not going to sit here and necessarily say that RMT is great. I think that they knew what they were getting into whenever they were RMTing at the same, and they got banned because of it. It is what it is. It's quite unfortunate. At the same point, if it makes sense, like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my god, these are the worst people in the world. Some people kind of like really hate RMTers and want them to burn and stuff like that. I'm not necessarily like that. I don't really care that much. I think that they knew what they were doing, and it is unfortunate that they got banned. Hopefully we'll see them be able to gear up some characters again ethically and get at the top of the leaderboard. Personally, I just like seeing the top end players do the highest level of Mythic Plus done every single season, and that involves this region doing the highest level keys because they are quite good. In regards to tech that we've seen this week, one thing is with these coalesced time mobs in fall, you're able to jump off the edge to avoid damage with the Chrono Burst. This is because if there is no Z-axis beneath you whenever the Chrono Burst goes off, you do not take damage. And you can see it done right there with a Transcendence and an Evoker just jumping off and then hovering back onto the platform. Now, I would only do this if you're playing very specific classes. There's some classes that I wouldn't even try this on, like, Warrior. There's no point because you're going to die. Another thing, and if you watch my most recent YouTube video, you already know about this. Our route can go out of the first boss area in Everbloom. I highly suspect that this is going to get fixed soon. These are one of those things that Blizzard likes to fix almost immediately once it's on their radar. I saw Miraz was cooking with an idea of dragging the boss around. The ultimate funnel would be dragging the boss probably into Archmage Soul. And so we'll see kind of what evolves with this. I think the Coalesce time not taking damage from this is like a huge deal, especially as well because it just does so much damage to your group, to those individual players once that expires. So if you're able to avoid the damage, that's great. Overall, though, that's going to be it for me today. It's going to be it for the video, and I'm going non-verbal. See you guys next week.